Hey guys, I've been getting a few requests to go over how I made the SVG preloaders that are animated. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So on my site, I added these. Half of them are premium, so I'm going to quickly show you these. But let's go to the free version, just because when I demonstrate any of these, there's 12 free ones, you can access them. That way you can hit copy and then you get the code. So you can manipulate the code if you'd like. I think this is a good starting one. Tube spinner. So we have this. I'm going to copy this and let's pull up VS Code. I'm going to paste it in like so. And then let's format it so it's a bit easier to read. Let's take out a little of this, because it just makes it longer. So we got the radial gradient. Then we got two circles. If I take away this first circle, you'll see just a circle is really like the track. And then if we add that back and remove this lower one, you see that there's no track. The magic or the animation is really happening right here. To have an animation in SVG, you pretty much need to embed it within the element you want to animate. So in this case, we're animating the circle. So we put it within the circle tags. So it's right here. Beautiful. Next, there's a few different animation types. I think there's maybe 3 just off the top of my head. There's just a plain animate, which pretty much does the wide gamut of animating attributes. And then there's 2 other ones. There's animate motion, which allows you to move an object along a path. And then there's animate transform, which is very specific to doing any type of transform. And there's 4 of them, I believe. You got rotate, which we're going over right now. And then there's skew, which I never use, translate, and scale. In this case, when you have an animate transform, you have a specific attribute for that type. In this case, rotate. In most other cases, you'll just have an attribute name, and we're just targeting transform. Generally, you have that attribute in the tag that or element that you're animating. It's not necessary though, and it's as though we have a transform on the circle. Duration. So this is how many seconds one loop of the animation takes. So it goes on for 2 seconds, 1 full loop. So it's going to animate these values from 360 to 0 in a matter of 2 seconds. I'm going to skip key times and key splines. And it's going to repeat that 1 time. I think I started with indefinite, and so that will go on forever. Or you can just have a really high count, practically do the same. Once it loops 999 times, it will stop. So this is very similar. Let's break out this one. Copy. Paste it in, format it. This time, the animation isn't very smooth. It has these steps. Having a calc mode of discrete, you can have more than 2 values. So I'm really painting the exact value I want of the rotation. So I mathematically figured out about where those circles should be. And we're going to get into dash arrays, but that's how I achieve these circles. Let's break out a dash array one. Copy. Let's throw it in VS Code. So the magic happens with the stroke this time. We got a stroke width of 15, line cap rounds, stroke dash array. So here's the magic right here. So we have a line length of 300. If we make this a little bit bigger, let's just go 700 so it fills up the whole shape. And so you see the whole path now. So it's just kind of like this infinity symbol. I'm going to just completely disable this. And so 300 and 385. So the length of this whole infinity symbol is 685. And so how did I figure that out? Sometimes you can do it mathematically. A lot easier with like circles and how big they are to the circumference. But with like a random shape like this, it's a lot harder to do. So you kind of need to rely on trial and error. So that's exactly what I did. I think originally when trying to figure that out, I might start something like 300, and then I'll just make this gap really, really big. I need to go bigger, so 400, not big enough, 500, 600, so 700, we exceeded it. It's somewhere around there. So let's go back to 600, 650, bigger, 70, we're almost there, 80. Now, so we're kind of touching, but if you really look at it closely, you can kind of see these gaps. So you do this over and over again until you get a number that you like. I found 685 works pretty well. And so that's the length of this. You want the stroke dash array to add up to the length of the full path. That way, when we change the dash array offset, no matter what you do, it will look good going along the path. The tricky part is that seam. You'll notice when it's too short, it starts before it ends. And if it's too long, there will be that pause, right? So again, trial and error to find out these numbers. And it doesn't have to be this, like I can have a shorter line and a longer gap, as long as these add up to one full length. All right, the next part of it is that we are animating the stroke dash array offset, right? So this is a simpler animate tag, not animate transform or animate motion. This is animate. And the attribute name is stroke dash offset. So that's what we're targeting. So initially, we're starting with a value of 685, and we're ending with negative 685. In this case, it's actually going to loop twice. If we went to 0, that would be one full rotation. I think we should talk about the keysplines. Now, so this is about easing. In CSS, you have it a little easier because you have some keywords that will do the most common ones that you want, which are like ease, ease in, ease out, ease in, out. Being able to use those makes things easier. In SVG, we have to have these values. And so this one is pretty much static. There's like no easing going on. It's just like constant. If we want to ease in or out, we'll have to change some of these values. Unless you know what you're doing, you always reach for a tool. I'll link this in the description, but it's just how to animate and get these values. If you had something that's very static, sometimes getting these handles are difficult. I think it's called linear. And if you wanted to have an ease, you would just change this handle and you can kind of see these values changing. So it went from 0011 to 1011. And this is pretty much easing into the animation. So not much changes in the very beginning. And then at the end, it just goes all the way and really fast and sudden. And vice versa, you could have a fast initial state so that it's starting to animate really quickly and slows off. And that's how it would end. You can get some fancier ones by changing these how you like it. Ease in, ease out, or other way around. But so you can kind of play with this and get the numbers that you want. When we get to animations where I do have an ease, that's how I got it with this tool. All right, so back to this. Say we wanted to ease this a little bit. I'm going to copy this. So this is what we're going to have. We're going to have an ease in and out. I don't know that it's going to look pretty, but just to demonstrate it, right? Starts off really slow, goes really fast, and then eases back out. So you can get some really cool effects with this. As we add more values in, so we're going to start at 685, 0, and then negative. So it's going to be 2 loops. It's not playing, there's something wrong. And that's because there's 2 transitions. We have 685 to 0 and then 0 to negative 85. So we need to have 2 eases on this, essentially. Let's just show off what happens when you have 2 different ones. So the first part has this ease in, ease out. The second one is linear. I think we should show off the fade stagger circles and the bouncing circles. One is about changing opacity. The other is the Y attribute. So the Y is where it falls on the coordinates. And if you change it from a low number to a high number, it will go up and down. Let's pull up VS Code and format it. Great. Let's hide 2 of these circles. So now we only see one animation going on. We're targeting opacity, so we're going to make it go from 1, which is when it's fully visible, to 0, so it hides, and then fully visible again. And so now that the value that it starts with and ends with are the exact same, it will look seamless when it loops. And you notice we have 3 values or 2 semicolons, so we need 2 eases. It's going to repeat forever and then begin at negative 0.4. What's that all about? So this is how we get the stagger effect. So when you begin at 0, that's right at the beginning of the animation, or you could have this be like 2 seconds. So it's going to wait 2 seconds and then animate. And then it's going to continue looping. But when you do a negative number, let's say you have -1, it's going to go to the end, go back a second. That's the starting point. Now, how that helps us with the stagger effect is we originally were at 0.4. This one's at -0.2, and this one's at 0. So they're 0.2 seconds off of each other. And so that's how you kind of get the stagger effect. If I did like 0.5 and -1, the stagger is going to be a little bit more obvious. The stagger is 0.5 seconds instead of 0.2, which is really quick. Let's break out the other animation. Let's pull out bouncing circles, copy that over, bring it here, format that. We got begin, -0.4, -0.2, and then 0. Same exact effect to get that stagger. The values are starting and ending at the same. So you'll notice if we want seamless loops, this is the main trick. We have 3 values. The first and end one are the same. The middle is where the animation happens. And as I mentioned, we're changing the Y coordinate for circles. Instead of X and Y, we got CX and CY. But otherwise, it's pretty much what you'd expect. We start at 65, and then when we animate to 135, it's lower on the page, and so you see it go down. And then it's going to animate right back up to its starting point. So that's that trick. Let's look at another. Oh, these 2 are pretty cool. Let's just go over this one first. Paste that in. Format it. All right, this one's quite long. But so one thing to notice right off the bat is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles. So let's get these commented out. So now we only see 1. It's slightly different than what we've been doing. We're animating the circle's X value. So we're going to make that at the starting point, move it over, and then back. You'll notice this time I have 5 values. The reason I have those 2 additional values is so it gets the pause. So we animate from 35 to 165. There's a change. We animate from 165 to 165. Well, there's no change in value, so it's just going to stay on the page, but we're still going to dedicate time to do that. So that's why it will stand still. And then we animate from 165 to 35. It will move. We animate from 35 to 35, and it will look like it's not moving. So that's how we achieve those pauses. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 semicolons, which means there's 4 transitions. And so we'll need 4 eases. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have the other expected things. We have a repeat count of indefinite, begin at 0. So we're gonna notice that we are staggering them 0.05. So not very much different. The ball moves. or circle moves, and then the others follow it, but a little delayed. The main way we're achieving this is just they begin after. So right, yeah, it begins 0.05 seconds after, 0.1, 0.15, 0.2. And that's the main trick. Let's break out the last one. Let's go with this one, ripples. Copy that over. Format that. So when you have a few animates, but you want everything to kind of be in sync, that's when it's really critical to make sure that you have the same duration. So duration of 2, duration of 2, duration of 2. So when this loops, each animation loops, they start and end at the same. If you do one different, things will start going out of control, right? It just looks off. So make sure all the durations are the same. I did the same exact thing to the keySplines, so they all have the same ease. So if something has something more drastic and something eases in and then something eases out, it just won't sync as well either. So they all kind of have the same feeling, just like breathe out. Let's close each one out individually. So the first thing we're animating here is the radius, or the R attribute. And we're going from 1 to 80, so very small to very big. The size of the circle is not 80 when it ends up. It's actually 160, because remember, a radius is half of the diameter. So it's actually 160, and that's relevant because if you make this too big, if we make this 120, it'll go beyond the view box, and that's a problem. When we also animate the stroke width, now we got to be concerned that the stroke width also adds to the size. So we're approaching the 200. So that's just something you want to pay attention to. Let's go back to how I originally had it, 80. So that's the second part, is animating a small stroke width, starting from 0 and then going all the way up to 25. And then we're finally animating the stroke opacity. And we're starting from 1 and going to 0. So immediately as the animation begins, everything's visible. And as it goes to the end, it's fading away till it's impossible to see. I think we've talked about all the different tricks and tips I have for animating preloaders. And I think it's pretty powerful that you can use what's called SMIL, which is SVG's native animation language. It's intuitive. Once you get one animation going, you can pretty much copy it over to others, make small tweaks, and you can get some interesting effects. Hope what I did was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the comments. Catch you next time.